Hi everyone, welcome to today's whiteboard session. I'm Dr. Jordan Rigby, Assessment Director at ViewPoint Center. Today we're going to talk about neurodiversity and kind of what it means and how it can present every day in everyday functioning. So neurodiversity itself has typically been associated with like autism, but we're actually expanding that out to include a number of different kind of presentations. Diversity itself means just not good, not bad, but just different. And so that we've widened that out to include things like ADHD, anxiety, like dyslexia. So it's just a different way of your brain working. It's more accurate than thinking of it as like a disorder or a diagnosis. Today we are going to focus mainly on autism though, and how somebody who has those kind of social learning deficits can present day in and day out, and maybe how they view the world, themselves and the world. First thing I want to talk about is our social world. This can be very scary and unpredictable. If you think about it, if you struggle with any kind of social deficit, walking into a really complex social situation can be unnerving. It can be really scary for that individual. One of the reasons why is their senses are heightened. Think of it as like their senses are all through an amplifier. They experience the same senses, but they seem to be amplified. And one of those things can actually relate to pain. Sometimes individuals who are considered neurodiverse, they struggle with pain tolerance. Sometimes it's a much higher pain tolerance. Different expectations. So this is a big one that a lot of people need to come to understand is we all have like a social itch in our lives. We all have something that we seek after socially. Some itches are bigger, some itches are smaller, and we all have something that like scratches that itch. Individuals who are neurodiverse, they have different itches. They still have a social itch. They may still have a desire to experience some kind of social interaction, but it may just be a little bit different, and kind of understanding what that might look like can be really, really helpful in supporting that individual. And another thing is they can often feel misunderstood, even in their own families. And if you think about that for a second, that can be really, really difficult. To feel misunderstood, even in your own social family kind of world, can be pretty scary. Next thing is emotional. So this is a big one. This is often what we see day in and day out. The biggest one is emotions that are like on off like a switch, essentially. These are individuals that can be very, very calm one second, and then the next second seem to go completely nuclear, essentially. And then negative and confusing. So if you struggle with understanding emotions in others and in yourself, any kind of emotional experience can be a negative or confusing experience. Negative in the sense of you don't know what to do with some of those emotions. You have a hard time really relating to people, and so it's a negative experience. And then sometimes these individuals, they have a tendency to be more negative, to see the world through a much more negative kind of lens. Next thing, it has to do with communication. One of the things most people know about autism or neurodiverse individuals is that they can be very literal minded. They interpret conversations very literally. Things like joke and sarcasm can just completely go over their head. Or one of the things I wanted to mention is that it can be quite unique to the individual. They still find stuff funny. They still find life interesting. They can still pick up on jokes, but a lot of times it's in their own way. They have their own unique sense of humor, essentially. And once you like dial into that and kind of understand that, you can relate to them and they can relate to you in a very positive way. Body signals. So this is another one that we know a lot of communication has to do with how we interact with our bodies, a lot of our nonverbal interactions. Individuals who are more neurodiverse, sometimes they have a hard time reading those signals. Sometimes they completely misread those signals, essentially. And then to keep with the spirit of diversity, so it's not good, it's not bad, it just is. I wanted to make sure people understood that there are actually some gifts associated with individuals who are neurodiverse. One of the big ones is analytical skills. They can take emotion out of a situation. And sometimes, in some situations, that really, really helps. For them, they always want 2 + 2 to equal 4, When we're dealing with emotions, sometimes 2 plus 2 does not equal 4. It equals 5, it equals 3, whatever. It changes. And so being very analytical in those kind of situations can be very, very helpful. And then also mental focus. If these individuals are interested in something, they can have a mental focus that is just laser focused. They can kind of grind through it and get a lot of these things finished very quickly. Next thing is memorizing information. So a lot of times people who are more neurodiverse, when they're really young, they're called little professors because they just absorb information, especially if they're interested in the topic or whatever it is they're learning about. They can just absorb the information and then regurgitate that information. So sometimes that's super helpful. Early in an academic setting, it's really helpful, but it can give them kind of a one-up in life because they don't have to work a lot to memorize a lot of information, especially if they're interested. And so thanks for joining us today, talking a little bit about neurodiversity. I hope you can kind of see how it's not good, it's not bad, it's just different. If you have any questions at all, feel free to contact us at ViewPoint Center. We can give you any information we can.